I'd like to welcome you all to this gathering to discuss the Day of Remembrance program that we're going to have on Sunday, February 19th at the Kabuki Theater, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. The Day of Remembrance program began, the first one that we had was in 1979. Every year since then, we've been holding a Day of Remembrance program on or about February 19th. And the date has moved around because we always wanted to have the program on a Sunday. So it's been the Sunday closest to February 19th. And this year, 70 years since the signing of Executive Order 9066 by President Roosevelt, the Sunday falls on February 19th. So there's a kind of balance to that.
And even though we call it an anniversary, it's really a commemoration. It's a reminder of our history, of a very dark day of American history that people need to be reminded of if, we are threatened with military supposedly necessity, that the history can't be repeated again. These types of events are very important for people to attend and to further educate the public at large. At the moment also, I must say that with the National Defense Act that was just recently signed by President Obama, we are concerned, especially in the Japanese American and Asian American community, about what this means, because it's too similar to the same type of act that was signed in 1942.
My uncle, Gordon Hirabayashi, passed away in early January at the age of 93. My uncle Gordon was one of 3 gentlemen. He, along with Minoru Yasui and Fred Korematsu, were 3 people who had Supreme Court cases related to the constitutionality of mass removal and mass incarceration. He refused to respond to General DeWitt's curfew orders. When Executive Order 9066, which the Day of Remembrance commemorates, was signed, Gordon was even more aghast because he felt that if curfew was bad, the summary removal and detention of all people of Japanese ancestry was unconstitutional. He decided to write a formal letter of protest saying that he felt the curfew and the removal were both unconstitutional actions against a population who had done nothing wrong. Gordon went down to the FBI office in Seattle and presented his letter of protest and turned himself in, and was summarily arrested both for violating curfew, which he admitted to, and refusal to comply with the removal order, which he, in his letter, asserted that he was going to do.
The 70 years, I think, gives us pause for our community to really look back on what has happened to our community, what have we learned, what are the lessons, and what does it mean? How do we look at the present day events? And our community has a very special, particular vantage point because of what our community as a whole went through 70 years ago. So I think that's why, as you mentioned earlier, our experience is not just of one community, but it has importance for the whole country. There's lessons that can be gleaned from what happened to us that can be applicable to what's happening today. So that's why when we look at that National Defense Authorization Act, and we realize that the president and the military, it's now legal for them to label anyone as a suspect terrorist and then subject them to indefinite detention without charge or trial. This is like what happened to the Japanese Latin Americans during World War II. This is what happened to Japanese Americans and the Japanese Issei parents. And let us not forget that the wartime concentration camps are still considered constitutional. So even though they made an apology to our community, they can still do the same thing again. And the sad thing is, they're doing it again. And all in the name, again, of national security. So here we have the repeat of, well, it's military necessity, it's national security. And so years later, are we going to look back and say, no, it was wartime hysteria, it was racism, it was lack or failure of political leadership? This is not failure of political leadership. This is very conscious political leadership that's happening now to us in this country. And that's why all of us need to come together to look at our past, learn from it, and then use that understanding to say, hey, what's going on today? Because every U.S. citizen, every foreign national inside this country and outside of this country is in danger. There's no one that is immune from this.
The 1943 cases have implications and a resonance that extends into today. And as Grace Shimizu points out, we're concerned that many people aren't aware of this and aren't as concerned as they should be about this. And so our Day of Remembrance event is a time to bring this back to public attention, bring it into open discussion, because it is this open discussion that's the foundation of a democratic society.